All right, so we finished with our grilled vegetables, and what did we forget? Protein. How about baby back ribs? Baby back's one of the more popular cuts of pork ribs you can get. People tend to love them. I'm kind of on the fence about them. I prefer the St. Louis cut or even just the spare rib. The baby backs come from up a little bit higher on the pig, so they tend to be a little bit smaller and curved through here. The meat on them can be hit or miss, but people tend to love them, so we've got to cook them. So first off, this is a 2 and down, which when you are getting ribs and they say 2 and down, that means each rack's going to be about 2 pounds or less. You shouldn't get anything over 2 pounds. Now, on the baby back ribs, the rib side of it, there's a layer of skin that some people peel off, others don't. Again, it doesn't really bother me to eat a rack of ribs with the skin on it, but other people don't like it. Once you cook it, that skin turns a little bit hard and not plastic-like, but it's kind of tough to chew. But it tends to peel off once it's cooked as well, and you can avoid eating it if you would like. Now, one little trick that we've got here is you can take a fork and start on the bone, and you can get it to come off. But once you get it going, you can pretty much grab it. All right, so now that we got the back peeled off, turn it back over the front, we can have a look. A little bit of fat up here. Up to you, leave it on, trim it off. I'm gonna go ahead and trim this little bit off right here. And pork fat's not a bad thing, but on the ribs, when it gets a little thick, it's not really good to eat, you know. So there we go, nice clean rack of baby back ribs. Take this off. Got a little bit of my dry rub here from House of Q. Very simple preparation for the baby back ribs or any ribs that I'm doing. A little bit of dry rub. Now my rub does not have any sugar in it or paprika, any of those things. You know, it's basically going to be your base trio, as I call it: salt, pepper, cayenne, and then from that you can add at home anything you would like to it to spice it up a little bit. I have 4 other ingredients in my rub, which I will not say what they are, although I could, because ultimately with the rub it's proportion of the ingredients that makes the biggest difference. So the reason I said that I don't have a bunch of sugar or brown sugar or any of that in it, a lot of times on the cooking competitions you watch on TV, you'll see them just caking the rub onto their ribs. If I were to do that, it would be so salty and spicy from the cayenne that you probably couldn't even eat it. So very simple rubs that I use for my meats, for the plain and simple reason that I want the flavor of the meat to stand out. I give a little hint of my personal flavors to it with my rubs, but other than that, it should taste like pork ribs. All right, and that's about it. That looks pretty good, pretty uniformly covered. A little more up there. And that's how we prepare the pork baby back ribs. All seasoned, ready to go, like I said, to the smoker. Here we go, right in here like this. Done. Close it up. Okay, so we're about 225 to 250 degrees. We're going to give it a few hours, about 2.5 hours. We'll test it, see what we think, and hopefully it'll be time to eat. All right, so it's been about 2.5 hours, probably closer to 3, and I think our baby back ribs are done. So with the baby backs, we know they're done, they're nice, the temperature on them's right. Let's plate. So we've got our nice spring grilled vegetables that we made earlier. Like I said, onions still intact. I'm gonna go ahead and throw these all over the plate like we're serving all of our friends, family style. Got our nice asparagus with the char on it. Now, with the ribs, The rack of baby backs, instead of cutting them all, I'm going to keep them intact. I'm just going to take these and put a little bit of a cut like halfway through each of the bone. Then you see that? They're nice and pull apart, but for presentation, it just looks a lot better like that. Now you can serve this with a little barbecue sauce on the side. I did while you weren't watching, glaze it with just a thin coat. As you can see, the reason I do that, puts a nice shine on the outside, builds a little bit of a caramelization from the sugar in the sauce, and makes it very, very nice to eat.